Now, it's been described as a pardon too far. President Tinubu's prerogative of mercy list, which included convicts serving time for serious crimes, something that sparked widespread outrage and left the administration churning and roiling in controversy, forcing it to make a U-turn of sorts. The list had sparked debate about the balance between mercy and justice and eventually led to this urgent reappraisal, but the opposition had been quick to seize on the decision to review the pardon only after Nigerians expressed outrage. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar said it was too little too late and that the reversal was an act of shame. In a statement, he said that President Tinubu had cancelled his own pardon for drug traffickers, kidnappers and other hardened criminals, but only after Nigerians shouted loud enough to wake him up from his moral slumber. Mr. Abubakar said the controversy raised fundamental questions about governance and accountability in the current administration. If the public had kept quiet, would convicted drug lords and kidnappers be walking free today under the president's blessing, he asked. Well, let's get the perspective of the government. And for this, I'm joined now in the studio by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you again. Isn't the review and reversal of the pardon list an admission that the initial decision was flawed? And what does this say about the President's decision-making process?
Well, you know, what Nigerians ought to have seen by now is that this President is not one that is afraid to reverse himself. If he feels that he has made an error, he has been consistent about this. He's a human being. He can make mistakes, and he listens to the public. He's a president who wakes up in the morning. The first thing he does is to read all the Nigerian papers, to watch the TV, to know what's going on. So he tries to understand what people are talking about. So I don't see it as a matter of weakness. It's something that I think is a matter of strength. That you do something and then you reappraise it and then you make some adjustments. And that's what he has done in this case of pardon or clemency and so on. When people talk about public outrage about what he did in the first instance in consultation with the Council of State, I don't agree that it was a general outrage. Most of the criticisms were coming in the case of Mariam, who the court said found her guilty and sentenced her to death for killing her husband. I think that was where the criticisms were coming mainly from. And so whether he freed drug convicts and so on, even the second list still contained some drug offenders who were also given clemency, not pardon, clemency. And Mariam too was given clemency. What I know about
in other words, they reduced their sentences.
Yeah. No, she was sentenced to death.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that
President gave him 12 years.
Right.
12 years.
And in the case of the drugs people, they were also reduced.
Some of their sentences were reviewed downwards, but not that they were not pardoned. They were given. The sentences were commuted.
Right.
So to say.
So
the president is, as a person on his own,
right,
he's a compassionate person, and then some of the things he does at times shows where he is coming from, his own personal philosophy, his own attitude about a lot of things. He has compassion, has feelings for people. Let me cite the case of Mariam. Yeah, the court found her guilty of killing her husband, a young man at that time. But her own case was a bit complicated by the fact that she has two children, I think 2 daughters or so. And I've read something about Islamic jurisprudence where people said that the court ought to have taken into account our children. Who will take care of them? The father is no more, and the mother is in jail.
Yeah, but she must have been aware of the fact that, I mean, she
it was a crime of passion. It was a crime of passion.
Right.
Crime of passion. kind of not
It wasn't premeditated. Is what you're saying.
So the kind of passion. Right. So anything could happen between a man and a woman in the heat of argument and things like that. Something could happen. So I said our president, is moved more by compassion and nothing else.
But don't you think this, what appears to be a flip-flop on issues as important as this, undermines the president's credibility and his grasp of the rule of law?
There's no flip-flop in what he has done. As I said, he's a man who's not afraid to check whatever he has done, make corrections, and then move on from there.
But there is the sense that the presidency's response to these accusations is a knee-jerk reaction to public pressure rather than a thoughtful reconsideration of the Parliament.
If you read the second statement that we issued about this prerogative of mercy, it will be clear that even the Ministry of Justice is not actually in charge of prerogative of mercy. There's another government department in charge. What the president has seen in the review done also transferred that the secretariat of the prerogative of mercy committee to the Ministry of Justice, that they need to work together. So it will now be supervised by the Ministry of Justice instead of being under the Ministry of Special Duties. So that's what they have done. They've looked at where did the problem come from, and then they found out, no, maybe these people ought to move to the Ministry of Justice. And then look at the people, the committee, the members of the committee itself. They are very, very important people in our society. And whatever they decided, whatever they recommended, I don't think people should just look at them and say if there are some irresponsible people who made the recommendations. They must have considered a lot of things before telling the government that this is how to go about this case and things like that. And if you just go and read in details, the people who are giving clemency, there are many of them, young people in their 20s, some of them teenagers, for example, people convicted for illegal mining. They are not young Nigerians.
Yeah,
you want to waste them?
Yeah, I understand that. But I mean, people have to wonder what, the presidency was thinking. 70 individuals, I'm talking about the original list, convicted of drugs-related offenses, about 30 of them for financial or fraud cases, 25 of them for violent or capital offenses, and a list which includes a former member of the House of Representatives convicted of receiving $500,000 in bribe in a country whose image has been virtually ruined by corruption. I mean, what was the presidency thinking?
In the case of the member of House of Rep, we're talking about Lawan, he had served his sentence. He was a free man. What the president personally did was to pardon him, so that he could live a new life. He could come back to office, and he could at least. We cannot continue to punish people. That guy had served his sentence. He lost everything, and I think the state has a duty to rehabilitate people who have shown some remorse, who had served their sentence, who had at least seen that this thing, what he did, that led him to jail, is not good enough.
But the feeling seemed to be that the president was in effect telling Nigerians that it is okay to be politically corrupt in this country, and that you will be pardoned if you've been convicted by a court.
No, that's not the message.
I mean, he's free, he's walking around.
Just the case of Lawan, that's not the message. I said this guy, he had already served his sentence. Are you going to accuse the president of doing the same thing with Macaulay, for instance, who the colonialists,
those are totally different
colonialists almost 100 years ago, convicted for embezzlement and things like that?
Yeah, that's a completely different scenario.
Or are you going to accuse him of pardoning Ken Saruba and the other Ogoni 8? No. Look, I think society must have the heart of forgiveness. And we cannot continue to have grudges against people who have made some mistakes, who have committed some crimes. If you read the notes that were attached to all those things, they were saying they have shown remorse, that they have demonstrated, some things to show that they will never do the same thing all over again.
Right, because I mean, a lot of questions are being asked about the specific criteria that were used to select individuals for the pardon list and how the process was actually carried out. Because, for example, in the case of Mariam Sanda, the president, we're told, forgave her without any consultation with the victim's family. It didn't occur to the presidency that it would give the impression that it was condoning extreme domestic violence?
The biological father came out. The biological father came out.
Subsequent to the list coming out.
The biological father was one of the people who pleaded for her release. The biological father of the husband,
yes,
Biliamiyu, that's the one who came out. The Bellows, who were saying who kick against
the maternal side,
they were the people, the boys. He lived with them all his life, and before he died. So they, of course, they are also the, in our tradition, they are also the parents of the boy.
Right.
But the biological father of Biliamiyu also came out to say, look, this woman needed to take care of the children. The husband has gone, and the woman is still there. What is the point in the state holding the woman in prison? You are also punishing the children.
But then you've gone back and kept her in prison.
Let's say this case. If you look at the case of capital punishment, for instance, some countries in the world, people will go and kill, and then some will say 10-year jail or 15-year jail term. In some other jurisdictions, it's death sentence. How do you evaluate the two?
Yeah, well,
the same kind of offense.
Yeah,
in some countries, say no, you are not going to kill.
Yeah.
Even in America, in some countries, in some states, America,
yeah,
they kill.
Differences.
In some other states, it's just sentence.
Yeah, but the point is that in Nigeria, there are laws, and it is the job of the president to uphold those laws. But at the same time, I agree with you, to have the capacity to assess situations and exercise the prerogative of mercy if he needs to. I mean, the power of the president to pardon is absolutely clear.
It's clear.
The Constitution grants him that power under section, I think, 175. But from a moral and political standpoint, how can the president justify forgiving, for instance, dozens of drugs-related criminals in a country that is battling a huge influx of drugs that are often used by bandits and terrorists to commit terrible crimes in this country?
He didn't pardon them. He didn't pardon them. The one I read, I don't know which one you read, the one I read, the president granted them clemency. Some of them have served 12 years, 10 years in jail.
But it's the message that it sends, isn't it? It's the message that it sends, even if they've served their sentence.
If somebody has already been public punished. You see, I just gave the example of the way states all over the world respond to a capital offense like murder. In some countries, it's jail term. In some countries, it's death sentence. In some, they say life jail, life sentence. 3 different parameters for the same offense, globally. But if somebody has committed a drug offense, and the man has served the larger part of the sentence, why should the state continue to hold him? If the man, I said, the same man is saying he has shown remorse, he's now showing that he's a good person, and he's learned some new trade.
But if there is a problem, if there is a major problem of drugs in a country,
from a moral point, I always ask.
You don't send a signal by going to forgive.
If the state keeps somebody in jail, people should keep asking, to whose benefit? If the person that you have kept in jail, if he's a different person, if he has shown that he's a reformed person, because that's the purpose of the prison anyway, to reform him, to show that the man can be corrected, his life can change. So, if he has demonstrated that, and the people who recommended that the man should have some kind of clemency, you can't blame the president. He's acting on recommendation.
Well, let's be clear on what the Constitution allows the president to do, which is to forgive or pardon after a conviction. But does it allow the president to override a judicial decision, such as reducing a conviction for murder to 12 years in prison?
Well, I'm not a lawyer. I cannot categorically answer that. But if you go by what happens all over the world, we've seen even the US, people forgiving all kinds of.
Yeah, but I don't see the president of America reducing the sentence. In other words, taking a judicial decision.
You are going to a legal area. Right. I am not a lawyer. I will not. I'm not.
Well, I understand that, but the reason I mentioned that is I'm wondering whether that would not be in violation of the Constitution and, in effect, usurping the powers of a court. Because one would have thought that that process would have to be judicial, not through a politician. It would seem that the president's action undermines the doctrine of the separation of powers, because the power to try, convict, and punish offenders rests with the judiciary, not the executive.
But the same constitution says the president has the power to exercise prerogative of mercy. After the judiciary has completed its own task, the judiciary does not keep prisoners. The executive keeps prisoners. So after the judiciary has done its own part, they say they keep people in jail, and they can say, oh, this is how the president can exercise their prerogative.
Right.
And even governors can exercise prerogative.
Okay, I've got a question here from a member of the public. Does the president have the sole power to review the list after he has consulted with the Council of State? Shouldn't he take the review list back to the Council of State? In other words, after he's given the list to the Council of State and they've given their response and he reviews it, he's reviewed it now.
Don't let us forget. I'm not a lawyer, but let me just tell you that in exercising that power prerogative of mercy, all the president needs to do is to consult.
Right.
Consult. That's the key word, consult. It's not that the council will tell him go and do this. He merely consults them. He merely consults them.
I'm sure you know that quite a number of, I don't know if you know this, but quite a number of senior lawyers are now calling for Section 175 of the Constitution to be repealed and expunged from the Constitution. Their argument is that it cannot be fair for the law to give one person, even if he is the president, and we're talking about the context of Nigeria, not the United States, that it cannot be fair for the law to give one person, even if he's the president, the power to forgive people who've been investigated by this country's law enforcement agencies, properly arraigned before competent courts of law and subsequently convicted. Because retaining the power to forgive demoralizes those law enforcement agencies and undermines confidence in this country's justice system. What is your reaction to that?
Well, let them take their suggestion to the National Assembly to amend the Constitution. As of now, the Constitution we have, the 1999 Constitution, empowers the President to exercise prerogative of mercy. So until an amendment is done by the Assembly, that's what we are going to have for now, unfortunately, if that's what they are talking about. That's what we are going to have up to now. So
there are no plans to review or reform the prerogative of mercy process to prevent similar controversies in the future?
If they sufficiently feel that that section should be reviewed, they can take their case to the National Assembly. Incidentally, the Assembly is reviewing the Constitution, so they can take all these matters there. After our country keeps evolving, things keep changing, and they can take it there. We can review it, so you can limit the power of the president to do so, or even limit the power. You can even expunge prerogative of mercy from the Constitution, and so we can handle it differently. But first of all, we have to amend our Constitution.
But you're comfortable with the review process the president has carried out, and it's all over now. Let's move on.
As I said, the president don't act alone. We have a prerogative of mercy committee made of senior Nigerians. I don't have the details here now. Made of senior reputable Nigerians. They made the recommendation to the president, and they must have some facts that they base their recommendations on. The president took this thing to the Council of State for consultation. Not for their approval, for consultation.
Right.
That, I have this list, and they concur with him, and then the list was released. And following the reactions of the public, the president, let's have a look at it. And he has done something that we are not emphasizing here today, that the committee, the secretariat, he has said he should move to the Ministry of Justice.
He did.
so that the minister can have an oversight on whatever he does and know, and then be guided by certain things that, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that. Maybe they were not looking at it, at all those other various factors that they need to put into consideration before saying X should be given clemency,
right,
or be pardoned by the president.
In that regard, what lessons has the presidency learned from all of this?
Well, I said this president is always ready. He listens to public opinion. He's guided by what people say. And as I said, he's a president who's always ready to admit his errors. If he has made errors, he doesn't consider himself a Superman. He sees himself that he listens to what people are saying, and he corrects himself, and then he moves on. I said it's not a matter of it's not a weakness. That is one of his strengths,
right,
to make amends and then to move.
Okay, let me move on from that, because it's not every day that we have you sitting here. So, I mean, we take advantage of you being here to ask you a lot of other questions. The president has just changed his service chiefs, the military chiefs in this country. What prompted that change?
Well, I would say it's a routine change. The president is concerned about the way the security situation is being addressed, and he feels that maybe it's time to have some new people in charge.
So he didn't feel the other people were doing enough.
He gave them a marching order,
right,
that we should not allow a crisis that began in 2009 to fester. 16 years of insurgency war, 16 years from 2009. The president said today, he told the new service chiefs that they must do everything possible to make sure that this country ends this war.
And this is not related to reports flying around and rumors of an attempted
rumors.
Well, reports as well. I mean,
well, there are rumors. You see, I don't know. I was telling some journalists today that sometimes journalists, the way we report, I'm a journalist. We sometimes don't have access on basic questions. In Latin, they say, cui bono, of what benefit will each story be if I publish it? Of what benefit? Of what benefit will it benefit Nigeria? Of what benefit will it see to Nigerian journalists or the Nigerian public disseminating rumors about a so-called coup attempt? The military authorities issued a statement and said, this is what happened. But journalists keep writing all kinds of stories, that so and so happened.
Well, that's why we have you here, to clarify the situation.
Yes, I'm saying, I don't speak for the military,
right,
but the military spoke, and they gave a reason. They gave the reasons why they arrested those people they said they arrested. And of course, the media, a section of the media, maybe they are looking for traffic, or they are clickbait and all kind. They are writing all kind of things. Today, for instance, one newspaper said the NDDC MD Samuel Buku was arrested, and they transferred some 40-something billion to somebody. They said somebody, a politically exposed person, who they say had fled Nigeria and so on. Today, the same man they said was arrested, appeared on television. Arise television this morning, live.
Yeah, we saw
live.
That. But you know,
so you can see in the bit of some section of the media to get traffic, to get clickbait and so on, they just write all kinds of salacious things,
I think
sensational things.
You are,
as I said, they don't ask the basic question of what benefit is this.
Yeah, but you are a respected journalist yourself, so I'm sure you know the difference.
I said they don't ask the basic question.
I know, but what I'm saying is that I'm sure you know the difference between social media and traditional media. Anybody can write anything in social media.
No,
I mean, somebody can write in social media that you got two heads.
When you have respected media, like the Punch, for example, today was the one that carried sort of a Obuku being arrested, being investigated for transferring for some billion.
But it depends on, you see,
and they were feeding on a tabloid.
Yeah, but
that's no credibility whatsoever.
But the point is that you're a journalist, and I'm sure the first thing you look at is how the story is written, the sourcing, the language that's used to describe it, whether or not they're attributing the story to a particular place or a particular I mean, whatever. I didn't see the story, so I really don't know.
No, I read it.
You know, but I think the punch is a reasonably well-respected
I said, wow,
newspaper.
this is the man they say has been arrested. I said, this is my life on TV. I said, where did they get this story from? You see, it's a matter. Some media like salacious stories. They like something sensational. They keep asking about this alleged coup, this rumor of coup, and I keep telling them, wait for the military authorities. They said they are still investigating. In the first one they issued, they said they are investigating. And why don't you wait? Why don't you wait for official response? And you keep feeding on the same information.
Yeah, because the bits of information trickle out that, and sometimes those
wait. They are investigating.
Yes, but
they are still investigating.
But we know, I mean, from history, and I'm sure you know this as well, that oftentimes governments use the term investigating to try and keep everybody quiet. I mean, the bottom line is that if something as serious as that happened in this country, should it not be incumbent upon the government to come out and say, no, this is what happened?
The military authorities are investigating. So my plea to our journalists is that wait for official information. They will release information. When they conclude investigation, they will release the information that this is what we have found. Whether it's a coup attempt or not, they will tell us. They cannot. And then they take those people to trial. You should wait instead of speculating. Wait for investigation. If someone thinks they're right, if they're investigating and you are saying they arrest on A or B, you may be tipping off some other people. So you may be actually compromising their investigation. So the media should tarry a while. We should do this our job. I think it's some responsibility.
I think the consideration is always the public's right to know. In a democracy.
And the media, you know, there's something we call the social responsibility of the media. The media as gatekeepers, it's not everything that we tell the public. The media doesn't tell everything. We don't tell everything to the public. There's something you say, no, let's not. As I said, cui bono, with this, if I write this, of what benefits it to the people of Nigeria. If you write about coup, do you know the effect it causes?
Yeah, but
let me land.
Yeah.
The effect it causes for the country.
Yeah, but the potential.
A country that is looking for investment, and the media are shouting, coup attempt, coup attempt, coup attempt. Do you know what it causes for Nigeria? It will draw away investors.
Yeah, but the
media, with their own hands, will destroy the country.
Yeah, we need to know the truth. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I said, wait. The army, the military authorities said they are investigating. By the time they complete the investigation, we will know whether it's a coup or attempted coup or whatever it is. We will know. Wait, let's study a while.
Yeah, how long?
They said they're investigating. No, the military will speak. I will say I don't speak for the military.
Course, yeah.
But I'm just talking as a responsible Nigerian, a journalist. That look, as journalists, sometimes we need to apply some breaks in what we do at times. Not everything is fit to print, as we say. Not everything. There's anything you don't say no. Let's leave this one out. Let's allow these people to actually finish what they are doing, and then they issue a report.
So your contention is that the media should not have reported that there are reports or rumors flying around the place. Evidence.
The media should not report rumors.
No. But what I'm saying is that the evidence because people talked to people. That's where it came from. I mean, some people who were supposedly in the know put that information out.
The military, I think about more than 2 weeks ago now, they issued a statement. They arrested some people. This was the reason why they arrested them. The media kept probing. Oh, something else. It must be 2 weeks after. I think it was a reporter that started it. Oh, that was a coup attempt. And everybody started lashing on that. Not all the media. Till today, not all the media have joined all this rumor reporting about a coup or a coup attempt. Not all of them. Some have kept out of it because it's unofficial. People are just, I said the purpose is for them, they are looking for traffic, they are looking for clips.
Yeah.
And they are promoting something, a story that can be inimical to the economy of our country.
But it's also a situation where people simply do not trust the government. People do not, a lot of people do not trust what the government says or what it does. And therefore, there is this reliance on the media to dig into things, even when the government says that this thing is white. They want to take it to a laboratory and see if it's actually white.
It's not just in Nigeria. All over the world,
yeah,
the people generally have a distrust for government. All over the world, there's a distrust for government.
Yeah, but we're talking about Nigeria,
yeah,
aren't we?
I said it's not just a Nigerian issue. All over the world, people don't really trust government. All over the world, it's not just a Nigerian matter. But I'm saying that the media also have a responsibility under our social responsibility of the media to be cautious in reporting certain things. Because I said, whatever we report has implications. Has implications not just for our country. And we need to, as Nigerians, as patriotic Nigerians, there are certain things we don't say, no, let's really hear from the officials what really happened. I've seen, there was a day I called a media house here. Something happened in Niger State. And the media house reported many soldiers killed by bandits. And the story, that same story also says, there has been no official confirmation yet. In fact, the report says scores of soldiers killed. Do you know when the official confirmation came? You know how many people were killed? It says 7. And I called and said, you see what you reported at that time?
Yeah, but that's 7 too many, though, isn't it?
7, yeah, 7 were. As I said, let's use the word scores. That is 20.
Yeah.
20. They said score, it could be 20, it could be 40, it could be 60.
That certainly sounds like an exaggeration.
I didn't say men, I said scores. It says scores. And I said, look at what you said the other time. You said scores of soldiers killed. Now, officially said 7.
Right. Okay.
So, there's need for caution in our reporting. And I said these days, maybe because many people practicing our profession, they don't go to journalism school, they just report anything. Anything goes. And they don't look at the implication of the report.
That is true.
That's very unfortunate for me.
On that note, I want to thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure having you here and getting your considered assessment of developments in this country.
Yeah.
Bayo Onanuga is a special advisor to the President on Information and Strategy. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you, Mr. Shaz.